Yes, guys, I know it's soon, and it's been a lot of fun, but unfortunately, this is the end for What If Naruto Was Neglected with the Black Rinnegan. However, there's nothing to worry about because, as you know, new What Ifs are coming up soon for you guys to enjoy. So, all you have to do is to sit back, relax, and yeah, enjoy, guys. And don't forget to stay in tune for the rest of the What Ifs coming your way over in the other channels. Yes, I indeed have 4 more channels which I post What If on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and obliterate that red subscribe button and become a part of the Making family, and thank you for all of your help and your support. So without further ado or waste any more time, how about we jump right into this brand new episode. Begin the intro, guys. So, to do a recap for the finale, the last part that we left off, Naruto gave in to the darkness that was residing inside of him as he finally become whole. Zetsu was now remembering everything. The Sage of Six Paths had made it erased from history to the point where a majority would never remember, but Zetsu remembered hearing rumors and whispers about the Black Rinnegan. Zetsu was cursing at himself because he failed, big time. His goal was to capture the boy in his broken state. However, the fourth Hokage arrived and ended the boy's life, so that now was greatly problematic. However, back down inside of the underground bunker, Minato proceeded to make his way down there. However, he came across something truly frightening. Something truly mind-boggling. Naruto was sitting on the table alive. Naruto explained to him that it is not that easy to claim his life. Minato was ready to fight, but something was different, something was off. As Naruto told him that it was not his desire to kill him right here and now. He had other goals, other plans for him. A lot, to be quite exact. Minato felt shivers run down his spine as Naruto gazed at him with those eyes. Naruto then proceeded to blow the entire place up. Minato was able to teleport out though, but he knew that Naruto would not sacrifice himself like that. He was somewhere and he was alive. Minato had to return to tend to his village, but he was cursing in his mind about this problem that he now had, as there was nothing that he could do to stop it. As Gaara was returning back to his village with his siblings, Gaara had changed after his battle with Mito. Her inspiring words had changed him greatly. Now he aimed to protect his siblings, but it was too late, as Naruto found them. Naruto now understood everything. How the Black Rinnegan came into existence, and what he could truly do with them. As Naruto proceeded to take the three of them on, they believed they stood a chance, but they did not. Naruto brutalized them like it was nothing. He then grabbed Gaara and siphoned the one tail out of him. He broke the sea like it was nothing, as he simply absorbed the one tail chakra. The siblings tried to fight back, even Baki arrived, but none of them stood a chance. They were cut down by Naruto easily, as he left them gravely wounded on the ground. He didn't even bother to end their life, found them not exactly useful. As Naruto was empty, he couldn't feel anything, no empathy. It was nothing that held him back from showing the true darkness that was inside of his heart. Nothing held him back from it. Shikaku was brought inside of Naruto's mental escape. Shikaku was greatly confused until he saw a mass of darkness approaching him. Shikaku tried to back up, however, It quickly devoured him, as all the power assimilated in Naruto, changing him inward and outward as well, as he felt the great additional boost, and that brought a happy smile to his face. As the time passed by, Minato was still covering up the truth, seeing that it was the fighting party that had caused that quake within the hidden leaf underground, trying to use it as a distraction. So far he has not been caught, his family hasn't found out, the village hasn't found out what he did. To know that their greatest enemy was because of his past actions that was coming back to bite them. And now that Naruto lost the two only things that he cared about in this world, there was nothing that this world has to offer him anymore. There was nothing left for him. Naruto then went around the elemental nation as he found every single sapling of the 10 tails. Saplings that the sage and his sons did not know about that was deep underground, as Naruto absorbed every single one of them as he was going around, getting more stronger, more powerful, more untouchable. Naruto proceeded to make his way straight towards Taki. That gigantic tree that provided hero water was a sapling of the 10 tails, as Naruto absorbed it. There as well, Naruto came across the 7 tails, as he knew where all of them were after all. He was like a beacon for them all. Fu did not stand a chance against Naruto, as Naruto quickly took the chakra out of her like it was nothing. The threat that Naruto has become has got the attention of everyone. It spread like wildfire. The Akatsuki, Konoha, every single nation now knew that there was someone out there actively hunting the beasts, coming after them without hesitating. Oniki decided to send word to Han and Roshi, who lived in the outskirts of the village, to return back, as he couldn't afford for them to be taken and make their village look weak. Kurosaki went with the group to accompany them. However, she shouldn't have gone. As Naruto pulled up on them, a battle engaged between them. Naruto did not hesitate to erase Kurosaki and the others as well before he took Han and Roshi with ease. His power had grown so exponential that they were nothing to him. Oniki and the others arrived late. Oniki teared up as he saw Kurosaki, breathless on the ground. The man was mad. He was furious, bloodlusted. He wanted revenge. His granddaughter was taken away from him, and he was pissed off to no end. As Naruto changed when he absorbed more tail beasts, horns started to appear. They were under the skin though. The Megatamas in his hand started to grow, and the power inside of him started to fluctuate even more. This was becoming a problem for the organization and their goal of absorbing the tail beasts, as Naruto was getting in their way. So yeah guys, basically as we left off, you guys can switch across the place, check it out for yourself, and also don't forget to go ahead and check out the what ifs on the other channels. Yes, I indeed have 4 more channels. All the links will be down in the description. So yeah, without further ado or wasting any more time, let's begin this now guys. Plans had to be updated. Recently, the reformed 3 tails at the bottom of the ocean was taken. 3 Kirin ninjas were killed, while 1 survived after trying to stop the pursuer. However, he butchered them without a second thought. He then went away. Kiri people were on full alert. Utakata was being hunted down by his own village to return, but his actions were not to. Utakata was caught though, caught by another external force. As he was walking through the forest, Utakata felt sweat run down the side of his head as a strange presence illuminated the entire field. His gaze fluctuated over to the side when he saw them. There was a couple of them dressed, black cloaks, red clouds. The leader, he could tell that he was, as he leaned his head against a tree. He opened his eyes. Utakata heard rumors, heard words, but those eyes were not the one that he heard about. It is said that they were black, but these were purple, black lining in them. So this was someone else, someone completely different. Who are you? What do you want? I'm here for you, Tendo said. Time skip. The sixth tail was successfully captured by the organization. Zetsu was able to locate the sixth tail, as they had to move fast. This boy, Naruto, as Zetsu had brought information back on him. Zetsu did not know the full information, well that is what he told them. Sasori only knew a few about him though. But Zetsu knew more than any of them, because he was involved in starting this, but he was not gonna tell them that. Naruto seemed to have vanished. For the past few days there was no word on him, nothing at all. Nagato performed the ritual with the organization. It was harder to start from such a higher number, but it was still done, and the sixth tail was sealed away in the Gedo statue. The Akatsuki was at full mass, all of the members ready to be deployed at any moment notice. However, Naruto had gathered more of the tail beasts than them. The only tail beasts that were left out there were the 9 tails, the 2 tails, and the 8 tails. Naruto had captured the 7, the 5, and the 4, and the 3, and the 1. And now he was gone. Everyone wondering why weren't they hearing anything. Kumo was on high alert. The Raikage was a very stubborn man, believing that he could erase any threat that might plague his village. Taki was not a powerful village, and this boy did not step into the hidden stone. In fact, he stepped outside of the outskirts of the hidden stone. That showed the Raikage that he was nothing but a coward. However, he was being smart in one area. He was not allowing the Jinchurikis to partake in missions for the time being, until this threat was dealt with. At Konoha, Minato was addressing Mito. "I understand," he said, "but I can't. This person is the same person that killed Kakashi, and now they're after all of the Jinchurikis. I told you what happened with Gaara, the boy that you said that you changed with your words." Mito looked down as she clenched her fists. Gaara was just a broken individual that needed some guidance, and she gave him that guidance only for his life to be taken. How much more is this person going to take away from them? He's done so much, and now the entire world was looking out for him. She herself was a target because of what she contained. He's gone after several others in the past couple of weeks alone. He's not shown up anywhere for some time now, but I know that he's still out there. I understand your desire to continue your growth and go on with your career, but I'm doing this as the Hokage and as your father. So no, he said. You will not be partaking on any missions anytime soon until this threat is dealt with. Mito wanted to complain, she wanted to rage. However, she could see the look in her father's eyes. He was doing this just to keep her safe, and she didn't want to die either. And she realized that this person was gravely stronger than her. She would not win in a battle. She released a breath. "Okay, Hokage-sama," she said. "I understand." Addressing him with the proper title. Minato saw the look in her gaze as he was glad that she understood. After dismissing her, he was alone. He had to make sure that she was under constant watch. Naruto was able to gather the 3 tails before he fell off the map. So far, no one had seen or heard anything from him. They had no idea what the hell was going on. Minato was just getting worried as the days passed by. Time skip. Karen was always getting information. She got information on when Orochimaru would attack. They had a spy within the ranks. Yes, they had a spy within their ranks. It was someone that saw the truth. It was someone that saw it all. She recently informed Naruto on their location. This was his chance to strike and end the Sannin once and for all. It was none other than Teiwaya, a member of the Zone 4, one of Orochimaru's supposed loyalists. However, she betrayed him. Well, it wasn't that cut and dry. Even before their betrayal, Tewaya and Karen had been close. As much as she loved to curse and pretend like she did not care about anyone, that was just something to keep her protected, emotional wise. Yes, and she did care for Karen as a friend. However, she was loyal to Orochimaru. On that day though, when Naruto almost ended her life, yes, she was there. When he broke free, she was amongst the survivors. Orochimaru believed that Naruto had simply went away and refrained from harming her, but that was not it. Karen had begged him to spare her life. And Tewaya saw the true might and power that Naruto possessed. Realizing that she would fall along with the others, Orochimaru always taught them that the strong rule and the strong survive. As she saw it for herself, as powerful as the Sannin was, Naruto was a different kind of monster. So she has been sneaking away when she could, which was rare, and leaving information behind. Thus information had served the group greatly. Orochimaru had to stand by one of his facilities for a longer period of time than he usually did, and she was able to send word. At the very moment, the Sannin was going over several research. Orochimaru was frantic on a way to increase his strength. His talks with the young Uchiha, he saw that he was convincing the boy. It's only a matter of time now before the boy roamed to his side. In fact, he was going to make a appearance, not himself, but in a form of himself within Konoha. This was a last chance for the young Uchiha boy. He knew that the boy would join him. However, he was worried about the now, not the future, the now. Naruto has grown tremendously, and with the tail beasts under his control, there was no telling the limits to his strength right now. He was a threat before, but now he's grown as a worse, cataclysmic threat. As the Sannin was quickly diving into more dangerous forbidden jutsus and forbidden arts, his action to bring the leaf down failed. One of his latest disappointments. Everything was going so smoothly until the hairs at the back of his neck stood up. The Sannin was confused. He snapped his gaze upwards. Boom! An explosion like never before enveloped the entire base. Everyone was sent down. The Sound 4, who was there at the moment, was crushed under the rubble. Countless ninjas fell. Countless were destroyed. It was pure chaos and destruction. Kabuto Yakushi, second-hand man to Orochimaru, threw the stone off his form. As he picked himself up, his left arm was broken, as the shoulder socket was also out of place. He used his chakra to mend it back in place. As he started to heal his arm, everything was a blur. His ears were ringing. When he saw something emerging from the smoke, all he saw was the eyes. The dark eyes that seemed to consume light itself. The Sound 4 was down as Jirobo tried to raise up. However, his head was split clean open. A shocking and gruesome fate for him. Ukon and Seikon, they looked up only for their head to be crushed with a force. It seems like gravity had increased to a rate that their minds and their brains could not physically withstand. It was then that Kinemaro tried to flee, as he was able to get out of the debris. However, 4 of his arms were removed. Everything was so fast. His throat was then grabbed as Kinemaro looked into those eyes, and those were the last thing that he saw. Tewaya coughed. As she looked up, she felt a chill run down her spine. "What are you doing?" she said. She had been the one to hand over the information. Naruto picked her up by her throat, shocking her. Let go of me. She tried to struggle out of his grip. As Naruto smiled, something was wrong. Something was gravely wrong. Who are you? She said. It was his eyes. They were different. Oh, it's me. It's just things have changed a lot. Teiwai looked down as she spat up blood. Naruto's hand was through her chest. Her eyes rolled back as she died. Her loyalty proved to serve nothing at all. Kabuto tried to flee. And where do you think you're going? Kabuto was dragged back. The force he could not stop. He quickly activated his chakra scalpels and swung. However, San emerged and blocked and grabbed both of his hands. Quite good, but not good enough, said Naruto. Kabuto screamed as Naruto ripped the arms out of the sockets, dropping the armless body down to the ground. Naruto raised his leg as he stomped in Kabuto's chest. Once, twice, then 3 times, crushing his ribs as the bones spiked into his heart. Naruto jumped out of the way as several bones hit the ground. He flipped and dodged. Kimimaro was also here. Kimimaro did not hesitate as he took on the first stage of the curse mark and attack. Ready, however, he was frozen as an unbelievable force snapped his arms back, snapped his legs back before he was thrown. He slammed into the wall as Naruto walked. The more he walked, the more pressure hit Kimimaro. You have no idea what you're up against. You're out of your league, said Naruto. Naruto held his hand up as he started to pull, using the gravitational force until he ripped Kimimaro's spine through his stomach. Naruto then plunged it into his throat as the corpse dropped down to the ground. He then calmly walked. There's no hiding, Naruto shouted out. I know where you are. He then disappeared. This was raw speed. The Sannin was trying to flee, throwing corpses, throwing his own man behind him to get away. However, reaching outside as the light hit his eyes. Hey, it's been a long time. Orochimaru gazed up as Naruto was seated in front of him on the stoop. The Sannin scowled. However, he forced it down. A long time, you say? Didn't we recently have a conversation? He asked. Well, yes and kind of no. You see, there was this part of me that was locked away for so long. However, you were the one that brought it in. You were the one that solidified it. And for that I thank you. For most of my life I tried to neglect, tried to push this path down. But now it's here. And the last time it saw you was when you brought it out. When you created it by putting me through hell. Festering feelings becoming reality because of these powerful eyes. So that is what I mean when I say, it's been a long time. Naruto said with a smile. Is that so? Well, as you can see, I'm quite busy and I'm not in the mood for entertaining. Naruto started to laugh. Only you can make it seem like you're going to leave this place or your life from this point on is optional when it's not. As Naruto chuckled, the Sannin tensed his limbs. Don't worry, this won't last long. You see, the more I grow, the stronger I get. And there are certain things I can do now that I couldn't do before. I know why you fear me. Even when I wasn't physically strong enough, these eyes of mine can tamper with that thing you fear to lose so much. Your soul. The Sannin stepped back slightly. And now, I can see it, I can feel it. As Naruto licked his lips, Orochimaru was sweating slightly. The biggest reason why he hadn't faced Naruto was because of that accursed ability. As Naruto took a breath and closed his eyes before he exhaled, the place became pitch black. Orochimaru looked around, unable to see beyond what was in front of him. As Naruto stood there as he opened his eyes. "Freaky, isn't it?" said Naruto. "Even now, it's not close to complete. You see, these eyes of mine, they were created in the most unholy way. The darkness that festers inside of them. Through generations after generations, those who awaken these eyes are filled with great, deep hatred. And the bloodline of mine make it even stronger. The Oda bloodline has gone for ages, decades. Many has forgotten about the true origin, but it is all clear to me now," said Naruto, as he smiled at the Sannin. "I'm not sure the limit of this once it is complete, but I suppose you will be the first to witness what it truly is capable of." Orochimaru ran, as he wouldn't entice with something like this. However, he ran until nothing. He was still in it. "I told you before, there is no escape," said Naruto. "The only way for you to overcome me in this state is for your soul, your will, your power to be stronger than mine. And as you can see, it's clearly not," said Naruto as the ground started to crack. Pitch black started to crack as hands started to emerge. Orochimaru backed away in fear. "What is this?" he said, as he tried to spit out his Kusanagi, but nothing came. "I'm afraid that you're powerless in here," said Naruto. "Well, not completely, but that's not for me to tell." Orochimaru watched his hands, then bodies start to emerge. "The souls that you've taken, the lives that you've damned. This isn't just a representation. This is a glimpse in it." Naruto was shocked by himself, truly accepting that part of him. And, not to mention, gathering the tail beast's power had boosted his tremendously. The Ten-Tail. The Ten-Tail was supposed to be a being of pure power, but something happened. The fragment of that power, which the first Black Rinnegan user came across, it had been festering. All of the hatred of that time, all of the death, all of the bloodshed, it had soaked in it and created a special phenomenon, giving Naruto the power of death. Souls that were damned, souls that were corrupted, he could see, he could feel, but he couldn't control. However, they would not dare attack him. They fear the eyes, considering the way they backed away from them. Some tried, but Naruto gazed at them as they backed away. The Sannin started to beg, "Don't do this. I can give you whatever you desire," he said. "We can destroy Konoha together. I'll help you become a god. Transcend what you are right now. Please," the Sannin begged, completely powerless. "So that's how it feels," Naruto said, "for you to be the one that is powerless." "Does it feel good?" Naruto asked. Orochimaru struggled as he pulled, as he tore, but they simply pulled him. "I'm not sure where you're going," said Naruto. "I'm not sure what it's doing to you, but I'm sure that it's gonna be agonizing." In the real world, Orochimaru was paralyzed. The moment he gazed into Naruto's eyes, Naruto had spread his chakra into Orochimaru's system. Think of it as a genjutsu, but this was physical in terms of tampering with someone's soul. However, the members were dead, so you would not see the curse mark leaving their body. Well, the soul fragment. Every single soul fragment of Orochimaru was taken, not just his original. Nothing was left in the empty host, just an empty, Emotionless husk. It was still alive though. Naruto held his hand out as a black rod formed. He gripped onto it as it twisted and turned, the edge becoming as sharp as a blade. He then proceeded to walk toward the Sannin. A few minutes later, as Naruto was standing on top of a pile of bodies, the remaining Sound Ninjas tried to interrupt but, well, as you can see, over on the experiment table was Orochimaru. Every intersection of his limbs had been removed. As Naruto left him there, he jumped off the pile of corpses as he started to walk away. Something was wrong with him, he could feel it. It was this power. No one had ever reached this before, no one had obtained such darkness before. It was swallowing his soul. Granted, he was unable to feel empathy, sympathy, but that wasn't just it. His emotions, the bloodlust, it was becoming a lot. Yet, he enjoyed it. He enjoyed every single second of it. The chaos, the bloodshed. As Naruto snapped his gaze, as he licked his lips once again, his eyes looking more deranged and mad. "I'm coming for you," he said. At the Hidden Rain, everything was going well. Zetsu was on the hunt trying to find Naruto. Sasuke's spy network was on the hunt as well. So far, no information has been brought back. Suddenly, the eyes of Nagato on his mechanical walker snapped open. "It can't be," he said. Something plundered through the sky. It was so fast that no one was able to see what exactly it was. It tore through the ground, ripping it to sunders. Deep underground, Naruto stood in front of the Gedo statue. No tail beast on this planet could hide from him. And this. The Gedo statue started to move. The fingers started to move. The husks started to react to Naruto's presence. The hands. Vines exploded from its chest and back and thrust it towards Naruto. They grabbed onto him, they wrapped onto him. The mouth of the statue opened up. It was trying to devour him. It did not like Naruto. After all, Naruto was trying to become it, and it's better. So it did not want that to happen. The moment Naruto arrived, it reacted to his presence, trying to assimilate him, trying to accumulate all the power that he's gathered. As Naruto was devoured, he did not put up a fight. He was swallowed by it. Immediately, the sixth path of pain pulled up on the scene. Up above, Konan was evacuating the area to get the civilians to safety. The Gedo statue started to grip at its face as it tore into its own skin. And there was blood. Its eyes were bleeding and they were open up. The Gedo statue roared as it rose its hands, slamming everything apart. The six paths of pain were concerned and confused on what was going on. They have no idea what was going on. As the thing kept on screaming, the place was coming down. That is when Tendo noticed something. It was being retracted, pulled inside until it became a source of absorption. It sucked and sucked and sucked until the statue was no more. It was gone. It was absorbed. Standing there. Well, actually, he was on one knee. As Naruto slowly pulled himself up, his hair that was now completely white, and the bumps on his forehead became two horns. However, they were premature, it seems. His eyes. It was no longer the black Rinnegan alone. There was megatamas in his eyes. 6 to be quite exact. Yes, 6 megatamas in each of his eyes, showing how advanced the black Rinnegan became. The Gedo statue was a part of the puzzle that was missing, and Naruto now contained 6 of the 9-tailed beasts that were out there. Even his clothing changed as well. He was wearing a white coat with 6 megatama on it. It seems like spikes were to emerge from his shoulder, but they were premature. He also had a staff in his hand that was also premature as well. It was not completed. As Naruto stepped forward, the ground under him seemed to shimmer away. Something unusual happened as he looked down. As he quirked an eyebrow at that, he felt different. Naruto twirled the staff in his hand. He slashed at mid-ear. A wave of darkness forced the paths to leap away. The absorption path tried to absorb the chakra, but it corroded his hands. A festering heap of darkness corroded his hands as he tried to remove it, but it spread fast. The path collapsed down to the ground, no longer functionable. As Naruto turned his back, walking away, not paying them any mind. He wasn't even aiming at them. There was a smile on his face, however. 5 missiles came raining down towards him. Naruto turned. Boom! The place erupted from the violent explosions. The robot path had just fired off the missiles. However, Naruto was gone. Tendo gazed up into the sky as Naruto was flying into the heavens. Konan fly upwards. As she stopped when Naruto came to a stop. A little demonstration, perhaps. He wasn't talking to her but himself. She created several dozen paper shurikens and launched them. However, the staff that he released started spin and destroy each and every one of them. Naruto then held his hand up. Konan was baffled. The citizens were frightened. Everyone was utterly shocked. Naruto created a Biju bomb, but this wasn't normal. It was colossal, a dark, festering ball of energy. For sure destruction and corruption. As Naruto held it up, using a portion of his power to sink the inner rain. Tendo flew straight up as Naruto launched it. Holding out all of his might, Nagato's eyes pulsated with every ounce of force that he possessed. Almighty! Push! He tried to repel the technique. Naruto looked down. He said, feeling the force that was repelling it. Until he pushed. Nagato started to sweat as he beat down hard. Konan was baffled and frightened, as she didn't know what to do. As Tendo kept on pushing and pushing and pushing. However, Naruto's smirk increased. So you do have some fight in you, he said. Well, let's see you stop this. Naruto flew down and sunk his hand into the bomb. That is when something happened. It opened. Prematurely the blast. It spread. Tendo had focused all of his power to hold back the thing. However, his radius was small. So he was only able to stop a section as it spread. Konan's eyes went wide as she tried to move, but the force, it swallowed her. Not just her. Half of the village was eviscerated. When it touched down, civilians were erased like that. Gone. Tendo was shocked. Nagato couldn't believe what he was seeing. However, it was his mistake to take his eyes off the prize, as the face of Tendo was grabbed. You shouldn't look away when fighting someone of my stature, Naruto said in a cocky, arrogant tone, as he squashed the head with pure force. The remaining paths started to rush towards them, trying to save what was left. However, Naruto used super speed and tear through the heavens. He descended downwards. Upon blasting through the ground, the remaining paths tried to follow him, but Naruto tore through the wall. Immediately, Nagato fired a giant rod towards Naruto's face. Naruto caught it as he looked towards the rod before he threw it back. Nagato tried to pull his arms, but he wasn't fast enough. As he turned, the rod ripped into his shoulder. He pulled his arms out of the mechanical walker, stopping the flow of chakra to the other paths as he held his left hand out. His body was running on empty after using so much force to combat Naruto's destruction ball. He used every ounce of his power till blood was pouring out of his mouth as he hit Naruto with the almighty push, but Naruto raised his hand and mimicked almighty push. The two forces collided. Blood was pouring from Nagato's eyes, his nose, his mouth. He struggled to push back the force that he was combating with. However, when Naruto took a step forward, Nagato knew that it was over. Nagato was blasted through the back of the building. His mechanical walker found itself in water. So did he. He was exhausted, barely able to move when Naruto picked him up as he stood on the surface. Naruto plucked his eyes out like it was nothing, despite his screams. Naruto held them in his palm. As he closed his eyes, he took a breath as he started to absorb all the energy and power from the eyes. As Naruto opened back his eyes, trembling with vast amount of power running through him, he turned his gaze towards the village. As a smile appeared on his face, Naruto held his hand out. As he closed his eyes, when he opened back his eyes, there was a tiny black ball in his hand as he launched it towards the village. Naruto held his hand out as he spread his chakra. The remaining people were screaming as the ground was being uplifted and torn apart. Slowly but surely, a gigantic moon was formed. As Naruto stood there observing the gigantic obstacle in the sky, his hand then changed into a cannon. As he started to gather a large amount of chakra, he then fired. An explosion like never seen before split through the giant moon. As debris, destruction reigned. The village was no more as Naruto stood there. As he flew into the sky, his gaze swept over the entire elemental nation. As his power was festering, it wanted release. It wanted completion. Naruto bore through the heavens, making his way. His speed was incredible as he split through the sky. Time skip. The Raikage had refused. He refused to cower away. He refused to back down. However, news had not spread about the hidden rain just as yet. The Jinchurikis were safely in the village. Unlike the others, though, the Raikage had a way to keep them safe by sending them somewhere. However, he refused to do so as yet. He wanted to be the one to exterminate this threat, to show the world that his village was the strongest. When this threat shows up, he will annihilate it. He will exterminate it. Time skip. Everything was going so smoothly. Nothing was really going on other than missions being given out. When he stood there, Naruto calmly stood in mid-air looking down towards the people going about their day-to-day life. At first, it was only 5 souls that he could take. 5 souls that he could absorb. And you would have to kill him 5 times, but the more power he gained, the more limitations he broke. All of the people that he had massacred, who died by his hands, their souls were being stored inside of him. Another reason why he was getting so much stronger. These souls were not just force of life that could bringing back from the dead. They were also sources of power. Naruto was learning a lot about himself as the days go by. As he closed his eyes and appeared within his mindscape, thousands upon thousands, there they lie. They were lying down on the ground, seemingly unconscious, as Naruto stood above them. There was a smile on his face as he held his hand out. Their bodies started to twitch as their power, their essence flew into his hand, just a tiny bit from each. However, given the amount that was there, that tiny bit would sum up to something very diabolical. In the outside world, Naruto opened his hand. 5 tail beast bomb, miniature tail beast bombs were in his palm. As Naruto raised them and started to twirl them with his finger, having absolute control, he started to shift them and bend them to his will. Each of them turned into an arrow. Naruto launched the first one down. As it hit the ground, the ninja that was close by was confused as he looked to see the small black arrow. He reached down towards it. Boom! Another boom! Another boom! Chaos started to reign within the village. At the Rankyo Valley, where the 8 tails reside, unfortunately the 2 tails was there at the moment. Both B and Yujito were having a conversation about the recent no partaking in mission rule. B did not like to stay in the village that much, although the people adore him. Jaikyu was the first to sense it. B, something's coming. He could feel his brethrens close by. However, this was not them. Well, this was not them controlling themselves at all. As Naruto touched down, Yujito turned. They were not alone. There were 3 others. Samui, Karu, and Amoy, as they were trying to get training from the Jinjulikis. Huh? Who the hell is that? Karu said. Yujito stepped forward. Get behind me. All of you, she said. What's going on? Samui asked. As B stepped forward, for the first time in a long while, he looked serious. Oh, hi there, said Naruto. I presume you know who I am. The smile on his face was a lovely one. Time skip. The Raikage was blasting towards the area at his fastest. Despite his fastest speed, it took him a while. B did not live within the village. He lived in a valley nearby. However, security was on their daily shift. However, all of those securities met their bitter end moments ago, unaware to the Raikage. It took him just a few minutes to arrive. However, when he got there, the place was a mess. The mountain that B lived on was gone. It was gone completely. Someone was standing there. The first thing he saw was the children. Their bodies were crushed, literally crushed together like a boulder had fell upon them and squashed them together. He then saw Yujito. Well, not her fully. Her torso and her head was in the wall. Her lower half could not be seen. That is when he saw B on the ground. However, what made him irritated was the fact that the enemy was sitting on his brother's back. There was nothing coming from B. The Raikage lost it. At his fullest, he charged. Naruto had his eyes closed. The horns on his head had grown. The megatames in his eyes had grown as well. 8. His body, the cloak, had changed. More spikes emerged. The staff in his hand, it was now rounding out. The top looked like a crescent moon. The bottom seemed to be a full moon but not yet completed. The Raikage came inches away from hitting Naruto, when Naruto merely blinked to show that his blink was faster than the Raikage. Top speed. The Raikage body hit into several of his ninjas that were just arriving. However, they were nowhere close to him, but the force that he was launched with sent him towards them. The ninjas were killed immediately. The Raikage was moving at a force that was so powerful. He came in with full force and Naruto sent him back with double the amount. As Naruto returned, with his eyes closed, as he tried to control the power that was now inside of him, the Eight Tails was fighting hard. However, the darkness quickly swallowed it, showing it that it stood no chance. Naruto got to his feet and screamed. However, it came out as a primal roar. He was just flexing his power. Tornadoes started to generate around him. Lightning, tsunamis. Naruto wiped out the entire valley and more with just flexing his power upon them. Completion. Naruto thought with a smile on his face. When the Raikage finally picked himself up, his left arm was in an odd angle. His right leg was snapped in 3 places. He had several slashes and marks all over his body. He was bleeding heavily. He had crashed through many objects. As Naruto appeared in front of him, "Who are you?" he asked. "You're faster than most." The clear disrespect that Naruto did not even know who he was. As Naruto turned his back, "It doesn't matter. Your existence is not important to me." One of the nearby tried to attack Naruto. However, Naruto turned towards him. The man swung his blade. The blade slammed on Naruto's shoulder. However, it did not pierce his skin. "Would you look at that?" said Naruto, as he grabbed the blade and broke it. He then gripped the man's throat. He punched and kicked, but it was meaningless. Right in front of the Raikage, Naruto pushed the blade right into the man's ears, and it came through the other side as Naruto plucked it out and went in once again. He knew what he was doing. He could see the anger and feel it as well. And it delighted him. The Raikage threw himself at Naruto using his one arm, trying to punch Naruto. And he did. His fist slammed right into Naruto's skull. However, Naruto smiled. "Is that all your body is able to muster?" he said. Pathetic. Naruto simply walked off, leaving the Raikage in shock, as he then took to the heavens and flew off. All of that happened in mere minutes, like it was nothing. He came in and got what he desired, and then he left. He left like it was nothing after murdering so much with that test of his power. Naruto flew over the village. Nah, he thought to himself, there wouldn't be any more fun once he was finished with his task. As Naruto headed towards the Hidden Leaf village, time skip. Mito was training as her fist was making contact with the post in front of her. Sasuke Uchiha just arrived on the training ground. Their training ground. Sai was not here. Sai has been unavailable for some time now. Sasuke of course knew that Mito was a container of the Nine Tails. She had told him Sasuke was her best friend after all. Sasuke was having a dilemma on getting revenge on Itachi. Yes, he was having a dilemma, a very bad one. Orochimaru had offered him great power, and Sasuke was thinking about taking it and leave. Yes, however, his friendship with Mito, all the Namikaze family has given him over the past couple of years, was holding him back. Anvus were in the shadows watching her. She paused as she saw Sasuke made his way. She was about to say something to him, but Her eyes widened. Sasuke was confused. What's wrong? Sasuke felt a sensation that he's only felt once before. He swallowed thickly. When he turned, there Naruto stood, holding the corpse of one of the Yondos as he tossed it down to the ground. Sasuke had never seen his real face before, but he could tell who it was. Sasuke reached for a kunai, but Naruto's hand rested on his shoulder. Don't worry, you'll be useful in this. Time skip. Minato was surprised that Sasuke came to see him. This was the first that the Uchiha came to see him alone. No, that was odd. Minato could tell that something was wrong though. Sasuke stepped in with a smile on his face. Sasuke, he said, "What's wrong?" "Hello there, father." There was no Anvus in the room because they were stretched thin. On Minato's request, Minato quickly got out of his chair, hearing those words. "It can't be." "Oh, it is," Naruto said with a smile, using Sasuke as a puppet. Minato knew that something was wrong the moment he saw Sasuke walking and smiling. "The Valley of the End," Naruto said calmly. "If you want to see your wife and your daughter again, I suggest that you go to the Valley of the End immediately." As he lifted up the shirt that he was wearing, paper bombs on his chest, the fuse already ignites. Boom! He could not save Sasuke despite how fast he was. He couldn't save him, as Minato was safe though. His speed always kept him safe, but as he watched the flames rain down, Minato clenched his fists. His ninjas and Anvus that were on the duty started to rush back towards him as Minato gave a quick order. Before he vanished, Minato arrived right beside Mito. Yes, right beside her, but his head was almost gutted out. He moved back with tremendous speed, as fast as ever, I see, Naruto said with a smile on his face. There they lie, both Kushina and Mito, the both of them tied up and gagged. They were on the head of the first Hokage as Naruto stood behind them, the fearful look in their eyes, tears as well. "Well, I suppose this is it," said Naruto. Minato clenched his fists. "Don't bother. As you can see, you're not fast enough to reach them." "What do you want?" said Minato. "Give me a moment," said Naruto. That is when Naruto's eyes seemed to glisten slightly. Back in Konoha, there was a clone of Naruto that stood there. With the amount of power that he now possessed, he could, theoretically, place the people under his control. However, Naruto simply reversed the process. Everyone was shocked when they saw their Hokage and his family being held hostage. As the clone was projecting what was going on through the eyes of Naruto, they heard the voice. "It's about time that you tell them the kind of man that you are. Why don't you tell your wife who is Lucy Oda?" Kushina looked up towards him, surprised that name came up again. "Don't do this," said Minato. "Huh, is that all you have to say? I'm gonna give you one more chance. If you don't tell them what I desire, you will lose them. So, as I was saying, who is Lucy Oda?" "She's a woman that I met one night in a bar." No. Start from the beginning. "She went to the academy. She was always in the background," said Minato. "She never stand out. I never noticed her until later in life. We met one night in a bar. There, that's it." "That's it, huh? And what followed that night?" "I got drunk and we slept together." Kushina looked surprised to hear that. And what happened after that? Please, Naruto, he said. I said, what happened after that? She got pregnant. And she had a child. And what did you do to that child? Minato looked towards Naruto with a pleading look. As Naruto raised his hand towards Kushina's temple. When he was 4 years old, I teleported him out of the village. And left him stranded. So that he could fend for himself out there. Because he was going to ruin everything. And why is that? I'm sorry, Kushina, said Minato. That night, when we fought, that fight that almost teared us apart, it was an accident. I never meant. Kushina was crying. So as you can see, you discarded your firstborn because you fear the public stigma. You tossed him in the wilderness. But what did you do to his mother? I said, what did you do to his mother? I made someone poison her, said Minato. Because she was going to tell Kushina. Minato finished for Naruto. Kushina was surprised, so was Mito. So as you can see, he's not the man that you people think that he is. Minato was confused why he was speaking like it was more than them. As he looked towards Naruto, he saw the look in Kushina's eyes. However, all of that was put to the side as she was concerned for her daughter. You know what happened after that? Well, let me inform you when you left me alone. I was found by a group of guys. You know how the world is. They were truly horrible people. But yet I was saved before anything happened. I thought the person saved me was going to help me, but it was Orochimaru. He tortured me, he experimented on me when he saw what I was capable of, until I broke free. And then I lived with two people that was everything to me. But once again, I lost everything. They were taken from me. I lost them. So yeah, you're pretty much caught up with everything, said Naruto. That is why I want you to feel the pain that you're going to feel right now. Kushina tried to get up, but the gravity slammed down upon her. Naruto raised his hand as Minato flashed towards Mito. I told you, you're not fast enough, as Naruto kicked him away. He held his hand out. Minato was blasted through the ear. Naruto grabbed Mito by her throat. As two arms erupted from his back and started to fight Minato off. Minato even uses Rasengan, but the arm absorbed the technique. Mito was screaming as Naruto's hand was sucking the chakra out of her stomach. She fought and kicked until Minato was trying his hardest, until Naruto increased the force around him to repel everything. Minato's seal was disrupted as Naruto was absorbing the chakra. Therefore, he absorbed the chakra on the seal, stopping him from teleporting towards her. However, he flashed towards Kushina and freed her. Kushina shot her chains out. However, they were deflected as she screamed. She ran head first, but she tried, but she could not break through the gravitational force that Naruto was keeping up. A feat that not even Nagato could wield. As Mito stopped moving, Kushina dropped to her knees, tears pooling down her face. No! Minato screamed out. In Konoha, everyone was able to witness what happened. As Naruto started to tremble, his eyes widened. Minato grabbed Kushina as Naruto released a violent, erupted power from his core. The entire statue of Hoshirama and Madara The entire valley was erased. Everyone was shocked. To their disbelief and horror, a beast, a titanic monster, rose from the depths. It was a Tails. Its body was bathed in darkness. Its once red eye was now black, containing so much ruthless, chaotic power. The beast roared. Both Minato and Kushina, who were at a safe distance, were petrified, not knowing how they could fight. Go up against something like that. It was a truly shocking development. The Tail raised his head to the sky as he formed a beam in his mouth and shoot it. Like a beam of light, the beam split through the land of fire and ruptured through Konoha. Thousands fell in seconds as the beam vaporized half of the village, splitting it down to the center and destroying the half that was over to the right. The beast roared and started to fire off countless bombs. The whole world was being affected as it slammed its hands into the ground and ripped it apart, tearing the land asunder. Meanwhile, Naruto was happy. Yes, he was happy. Both Karen and Medma, they were all eating as he smiled with them. Something felt strange. Is something wrong? Karen asked. No, said Naruto, when he noticed something through the window. It was a bird. Its wings flapped oddly as it went through the sky. Naruto got up and walked towards the door. Where are you going? Said Menma. Just outside for a moment. No, you can't leave, said Karen. Why not? Naruto asked. You can't leave us. Please, I'm begging you, she said to him. Oh, okay, said Naruto, calm down. I won't leave. As he stepped towards her, he felt wrong. Come to me, she said. I can't. Why? Menma said. There's nothing for you out there. Everything is good in here, just stay. I'm sorry. Naruto stepped towards the door. Please, don't leave us, Karen begged. As Naruto gripped the handle, I said, don't leave. Tentacles gripped onto him as her face changed into the face of the Jubi. You're mine. His voice was dark and domineering. You think something like you can control what I am? Every single tentacle started to wrap around Naruto, covering him until there was nothing left. Now sleep. Sleep into emptiness. I refuse. The voice rang out in the tentacles. I did this, not you. You are a part of me. I'm the one in control, not you. Naruto ripped himself out. He literally tore the tentacles apart as he leaped and gripped the handle of the door. He ripped the door off its hinges. As Naruto crawled, the tentacles wrapped around his legs as they tried to pull him. As he crawled into the light. In the outside world, the Jubi roared, shaking the land, when it started to fold in on itself, until it created an egg in mid-air. The egg floated there for what seemed to be minutes, but it was just seconds. Everyone held their breath. It then cracked as something emerged. The new and improved Naruto. His long white hair fluttered in the wind. His staff was complete. The Megatamas on his back was complete. The Megatamas in his eyes were now red. His Rinnegan was still black, but the Megatamas were red. As Naruto stood in mid-air, he looked down as his gaze. He teleported and appeared in front of Minato and Kushina. Kushina looked up towards him with broken eyes. Minato still looked like he had fight left in him. Naruto smiled at him. He reached out as Minato flinched. As Naruto placed a hand on his cheek. "Don't worry," he said. "You still have a chance." He turned his back and started to walk away. Every instinct that Minato had told him not to move, not to attack Naruto. He had no idea what he meant by that. His power was beyond them. Time skip. The people of the Hidden Leaf, despite what was said, they had no choice but to forget about it for the time being. Those that still could, they could. It was a real surprise when they showed up. The members of the organization, well, former organization, the Akatsuki. They all except for one showed up, the masked man. He foolishly thought that he could make a compromise with Naruto. As he arrived, Naruto was simply sitting. Yes, he was simply sitting, waiting. The masked man found him, wanting to make a compromise, he said, believing that his technique would help him, but to his shock, Naruto cut through space and time and did not move as a corpse lay there. Many came past the area and saw him. Run away they did. Many watch, many observe. The nations pool their power together. At Konoha, depression was too much. It was just too much for her. Minato was trying his best to gather their forces to fight, despite the gut-wrenching pain of losing his daughter. He still wanted to do something to get revenge. However, Kushina could not handle it. Minato had an Anvu watching over her. He saw the state that she was in. The Anvu never report back in. After an hour, he went to investigate and found the Anvu dead. And he found Kushina in the kitchen, lifeless. Minato cried. For the first time since losing Mito, all of that emotion that he's held back, he released it. The man was now broken. Kushina took her own life. She couldn't take it anymore. She just couldn't. The pain. Minato seemed to be a bit stronger though, despite the lifeless look in his eyes as Jiraiya returned. Everyone was there, the Sanins, the remaining ones. They tried to stand tall. There was no violence, no anger between the nations. They knew what they had to do. A force like never seen before gathered. Minato's mind was not in it though, despite his words. He had nothing left to live for. Many people blamed him. Many people blamed him. However, going out that way would cement his name down in history as something that he didn't want. At least he could give his life in the final battle. As Minato believed that he could end this with a very powerful seal of his that would take his life. Time skip. They march. The army was vast. The army was long, countless. As Naruto, who had not moved from that position for days, finally rose. Clones of him, duplicates, returned with the bodies of the members of the organization. The only one that was not there was Itachi, who had returned back to the Hidden Leaf, who had spoken to Minato. Grudges had to be put aside. Even Danzo was offering up his root ninjas to fight in this upcoming catastrophic war. Danzo believed that he could take Konoha, but what would he take if there was nothing left? Konoha was destroyed, half of the village was gone. They were at their weakest. Everyone came out on the battlefield as Naruto stood as he watched them all. An army of 65,000 approach. Naruto held his hands out as they charged. What followed was something that would be marked in history. If there was going to be one after this, it was chaotic. Heavens were pulled. Meteors rained from the heavens. Lightning that eviscerated thousands. Oceans that swallow hundreds. Fire that burned thousands. The only one that stood close to Naruto was my guy, who activated the 8th gate. And the word close was being used to how close he got to Naruto, not in terms of power. Naruto's strength was beyond, absorbing all of the saplings, absorbing all of the power, absorbing and adding on to his. He became a monster. Guy was eviscerated. His life force sucked out of him by Naruto. Naruto did not kill them all, he sucked them dry, further empowering himself. However, something was wrong, like stating before. The wind stopped blowing. The waters in the sea stopped fluctuating. Zetsu, the one that was able to escape, saw it. It was underground, but it was growing. Zetsu thought this was a good idea. However, when he arrived towards the location, he felt it. It happened so fast that Zetsu found himself ripped in half. White Zetsu was torn off him as he looked into the dark Rinnegan of the clone standing there. "I've been looking for you," the clone said with a smile on his face. At the end, there he stood, Minato, gripping Naruto's soul with his Shinigami, but he failed. Minato was not strong enough to pull Naruto's soul out of him. All of his hopes flushed away as he watched Naruto simply knocked his hands away, using his overwhelming power to return his soul to where it was supposed to be. Minato was baffled. Despite the power still flowing through him, Minato dropped down to his knees. He was done. Countless wounded, countless still standing, but they were afraid. "Go ahead," said Minato. "Do what you have to do." Naruto said with a smile. "If there's nothing else I ever get in this world, that's what I've been looking for." That broken look in your eyes. Minato chuckled lifelessly. "You broke me a long time ago," he said. "But now, I just realized there was no more hope left." As Naruto sat down with his father, which was rather weird. "Let us watch it, as father and son," he said. "Let us watch the demise of this world." A massive tree was ripped out of the earth. It was what Zetsu was approaching. The clone arrived, holding a tiny ball as he tossed it as Naruto caught it. It was Zetsu, still alive. He has plans for him, as Naruto kept him. Minato gazed up towards the tree. "What's that gonna do?" "It's taking everything. Take a look." Minato looked behind him as he saw everyone being grabbed. However, this was different. With a mere touch, their bodies were dried out. The tree was sucking every life out of them. It took minutes. There was no one left on the planet alive, not even the summoning creatures. As Naruto looked down towards his father, He then started to walk away. "Where are you going?" said Minato. "End this." "I have. I'm going to leave you here, just like you left me. Alone. Broken. On a planet with nothing remaining." Naruto walked over as he pressed his hand on the tree. As he released a wonderful smile. All the chakra flood into him. The essence, the power. It was amazing. Minato stood there, looking more broken than ever. You have a choice. End it all. Or lie in your misery knowing that you ended the world. However, the place started to tremble. I don't think this planet will last for much longer. It seems rather unstable. Minato gazed up towards Naruto as he held the kunai in his hand. "I'm truly sorry for all I did to you, to cause you to go down this path. I know," Naruto said. All that was talking was a broken man who confessed his sins. Minato raised his kunai as he plunged it down. As Naruto watched him collapse down. Naruto then gazed up towards the heavens as he flew, breaking through Earth's atmosphere. The planet wasn't doing so well. As Naruto stood there hovering above it, he was able to breathe quite well in space. This world was done, but this universe was vast and unending. There was so much. As Naruto grabbed onto Zetsu, before he proceeded to devour him, gaining knowledge that he never even knew before. Kaguya. Osusuke's. Naruto said with a smile. But guys, we end episode right here. And yeah guys, that's it. Thank you guys for staying in tune and yeah, enjoying. It's been wonderful. And you already know more series coming soon, so simply relax and stay in tune guys. They will be out soon for you guys to enjoy. But I'm out for now, see you guys soon. Peace.